What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. I am DJ, aka the Token Black Guy. If you are new here for the first time, please hit the like button, subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. So we're going to go back to my thing of the series that I started a while back. Let's learn something. So today we're going to learn the bizarre way to keep track of time on Mars. Now, me personally, as a kid and even now as an adult, I have always been fascinated about space. I've always wanted to go to space, live in space, go to other planets. And I really hope before I die that we land on Mars or colonize Mars, because that's just something that I want to experience. Like, I wasn't alive for the moon landing. I hope I can see the first humans land on Mars. I always follow all the rovers or missions that they do to Mars and everything. I'm just a big space nerd. I like space. That's why I like sci-fi movies like Halo, a series like Halo, and books like that. Because I wish I was born like 200 years from now, when we were like just humans were just all over the galaxy and the stars and everything, travel and everything. This is me personally. So this is a question I always wondered, like, on these other planets, since, like, obviously Earth has 24-hour day, other planets don't have it. I think Mars is actually slower. I don't know the time, like the revelation it takes for a day to deplete, or even like the cycles around the sun. Like, their years are different. So, like, I know we call it souls because after watching the movie The Martian and everything. So this is the answer one of the questions I had, and I'm kind of curious about. So once again, this is that channel, Real Life Lore. Make sure you subscribe to them. They have good topics and everything to follow and everything. Without further ado, let's learn something. Y'all learn today. All right, here we go.
This video is made possible by Brilliant. Learn complex topics simply for 20% off by being one of the first 200 people to sign up at brilliant.org/reallifelore.
Hey, y'all
Of
sign up
all
for
the planets
Brilliant.
in our solar system, Mars is the one that appears to be the most habitable. Relatively speaking, it's not too cold, it's not too hot, and there's even a day and night cycle that is actually quite similar to our own, which means that timekeeping on Mars is actually somewhat close to what it is on Earth. But in many ways, it's also starkly different, and that's a problem that astronauts and colonists in the near future are going to have to face. The question is, how exactly close is the Martian timescale to Earth's? And will astronauts visiting Mars in the near future be forced into a completely new dimension of time? Perhaps first, it's important to discuss briefly what time even is at all. Time, when you think about it, is sort of a strange concept. In its most basic form, time is essentially just the progress of existence that appears to occur in an irreversible succession from past to present and on into the future. While the most widely used numeral system on Earth is the decimal or base 10 system, a system that most likely originated because it was easy for humans to count using all 10 of their fingers. Ancient civilizations such as the Egyptians and the Greeks first divided the day into smaller parts based on a base 12 and base 60 system that we continue to use to this day. The base 12 system coming from the fact that there are roughly 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness during each observed equinox, and 60 originating from, well, I don't really know. But it does divide pretty nicely with smaller numbers such as 10, 12, 15, 20, and 30, which may be why it was originally chosen. But all of this aside, what we eventually agreed upon was the fact that 24 hours did occur in a day, which is comprised of 60 minutes in each of those hours and 60 seconds within each of those minutes, except, of course, for the occasional leap second, which occasionally turns the last minute of the year into a 61-second minute. The problem that no ancient timekeepers ever thought about, though, is how would this system work among humans living on another planet? The system we all know of 24 hours in a day and 60 minutes per hour is specific to our current planet. So, how could a system like this that we already have end up correlating to Mars? Or rather, why even come up with a new system at all if the current one works just fine? The problem with doing that is that Mars rotates at a rate 2.7% slower than Earth, meaning that the Martian day is actually somewhat longer. But before jumping to the full day, let's begin with the smaller unit of time, the second. A second is really just a human perceived derivative of a larger time, and as a result would be the exact same on Mars as it is on Earth. In fact, the precise measurement of a second is known as the atomic second, which is exactly measured as 9,192,631,770 vibrational periods of a cesium-133 atom. This, obviously, still applies on Mars, so seconds are good. But next up is where things begin to get a little more complicated. Before moving on to what a minute is, it is first important to understand what exactly a day on Mars is like, and to do that, we need to understand what exactly a day is. A day on any planet is the time it takes for the planet to rotate once on its axis relative to the sun. That is, if you stand at one location and begin the day with the sun overhead, a full day would not have passed until the sun is directly overhead again the next day. While an Earth day is roughly 24 hours, or specifically 23 hours and 57 minutes to be exact, a Martian day, also known as a sol, is exactly 24 hours, 39 minutes, and 35 seconds long in Earth time. Now, going back to what a Mars minute is, a Mars solar minute will be 1/60th of a Mars solar hour, and a Mars solar hour will be 1/24th of a Mars day. So, after doing some quick math, we can determine that a Mars minute is actually equal to 1 minute and 1.5 seconds of Earth time, and a Mars hour is actually equivalent to 1 hour, 1 minute, and 39 seconds on Earth. Who wouldn't want to have a little extra time in the day after all? Now, the next unit of time to define after the day would be the month. On Earth, we use the moon to define this length of time, as it takes 29.5 days to complete the lunar cycle, which conveniently breaks the year down into roughly 12 equal parts. However, on Mars, it's not quite that easy. Mars actually has two moons, Phobos and Deimos, and these moons are almost nothing like ours. Phobos, for instance, orbits just 3,700 miles above the surface of Mars and whips around it 3 times every single day. And Deimos, on the other hand, while it is more distant, it still only takes 30 hours. Now, unless we wanted to have literally hundreds of months in the year, using these moons as a relative reference is just not going to be practical.
It's not gonna work.
Therefore, it was determined that it would be best to just divide the Martian year into 12 equal parts, pretty much just like we do on Earth, thus granting a relationship between the Mars month and the Earth month to be much closer together. But what really starts to get crazy, however, is when we add up these months and begin to compare the Earth year to the Mars year in its entirety. In astronomical terms, a year is the time it takes for a planet to make one trip around the sun, while the Earth takes roughly 365.25 days to make this journey. Hence the leap year every 4 years. The Mars year is nearly double that time at 687 Earth days,
almost
or
2
converted
years.
to Mars days, 669. But what really makes a difference in the time on Earth versus the time on Mars is the actual orbit. You see, for the most part, the Earth rotates around the sun in a nearly perfect circle. Now, of course, it is technically not an exact circle, but it is
Mars is more elliptical,
close,
right?
meaning that no matter what time of year it is, the distance between the Earth and the sun remains much the same, and thus has no effect on temperature. Instead, the seasons on Earth change primarily from the relative tilt of the Earth in reference to the sun. However, Mars has what is known as an eccentric orbit, meaning that during some months it is much closer to the sun, while for others, it is much, much further. And while this may not seem like a huge deal, it is going to make for some rather long and brutally cold winters. So with all of this being said, what time even is it on Mars right now? And does Mars even have an exact date? Well, actually, yeah. For the purposes of enumerating Mars years and facilitating date comparisons, a system has already been developed by the Space Science Institute to perform this duty. This system, although not officially adopted yet, is becoming increasingly used, especially by recent Mars exploration rovers. It suggests that Mars Year 1 occurred on April 11th, 1955 Earth time, at the point of the northern spring equinox, shortly before the Great Martian Dust Storm of 1956, which was observed by astronomers here on Earth. Thus, for reference, as we celebrate the new year here on Earth on January 1st, 2021, Mars will be nearing the end of year 35, with new year 36 finally occurring here on Earth on February 8th, 2021. As humanity
Okay.
continues to reach further and further out into the solar system and
That's very
beyond, it
interesting
will
to
become
me.
necessary to adopt new ways of telling time, just like on Mars. While early Mars rover missions used a rather primitive time system where they would literally just pause their clocks at midnight for 39 minutes in order to
Really?
account for the time
It catch back
difference,
up?
more
Yeah.
recent rover missions have begun to use what is increasingly becoming known as Mars Universal Coordinated Time, or MUCT. MUCT is very similar in nature to how Universal Coordinated Time, or UTC, works on Earth. It is defined as the mean solar time at Mars's prime meridian. Much like how Earth has a prime meridian marking for which Universal Coordinated Time is based off of, Mars
It's
has a
basically
meridian
Zulu
that was
time in the
first
military.
proposed way back in 1830 to be exact, and is marked by a crater known as Airy-0, which is sort of funny because this was essentially 50 years before the prime meridian was established and agreed upon on Earth at the International Meridian Conference back
Oh,
in
really?
1884.
So they had before Earth,
Now,
you
all
had
of
one.
these problems with keeping track of time on Mars might not matter so much now, but they'll be of dramatic importance later on
50
throughout
years,
the
it'll
course
matter a
of the
lot.
21st century. Elon Musk announced earlier this year that he plans on having 1 million people living on Mars by 2050. That's
me.
only 30
Take me.
years from now and just
I'll go.
halfway through the century. If he's right about that estimate, then the odds are good that most of you watching this video are going to be alive when the human population of Mars is 1 million. This
I'll
is
be
going
glad
to
to go.
be a monumental
I'll be a
task
Martian.
for humankind to pursue, and the problems with time, math, physics, and more are numerous. STEM subjects like these are vital for humankind's technological advancement, and while I understand that math and physics can seem incredibly overwhelming and at times even impossible to understand,
Yeah, I'd be glad to go to Mars. Like if they had a one-way ticket to Mars, sign me up. But yeah, it's something I always wonder how we're gonna keep time and everything on Mars, and even not just Mars, like in the future, like different planets and stuff when we eventually colonize, and just there's got to be some kind of reference to keep everybody within the same time frame or whatever. But yeah, let me know if you like this video, if it was informative, if you learned something from it. If you want to see more, leave a like down. Give me a like on the video. Uh, yeah, I enjoyed this one. Like I said, I like to learn different stuff, so we'll continue the series down the road. If you have any suggestions of stuff that we should learn, leave a like or leave a comment down below. Till next time, guys. I'll see you when I see you. Peace.